From the outside, Harvey Barnes' story looks almost too polished, too quiet, too understated for the ruthless world of elite football. But the truth is, his journey has been anything but quiet. It is a story of fire hidden under calm waters, of a boy who grew up in the heartbeat of English football and learned early that greatness rarely announces itself with noise. It unfolds like a film, a steady rise, a brutal fall, a rebirth, and a rebuilding that still feels unfinished. And in the middle of it all is a man who plays the game with a kind of fearless joy. As if every minute on the pitch is borrowed time, he refuses to waste. Harvey was born into the game, raised in Burnley but shaped in Leicester, the kind of kid who spoke more with the ball at his feet than with his voice. His father, Paul Barnes, was a professional striker, tough, clinical, old school, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. He told Harvey from the beginning, talent is nothing without obsession. And Harvey listened. You could see it in the way he ran during those early academy years, head slightly leaning forward, eyes fixed, movements sharp and decisive. Even as a teenager, he had the instincts of a modern winger, direct, bold, fearless, always hunting the gap between hesitation and courage. Barnsley taught him the brutality of the championship, a league where talent must survive violence. He came back to Leicester, a different player, stronger, faster, more ruthless. Brendan Rodgers saw it instantly. Harvey wasn't a project anymore, he was the future. The way he cut in from the left, always with purpose, not just flair, made him one of the most dangerous rising stars in English football. Fans started asking the same question every week. How is he improving this quickly? Fans remember the image, Barnes on the turf, clutching his knee, pain written across a face that rarely showed weakness. The Premier League moves fast, and while Harvey fought to rediscover his rhythm, the world moved on. Other wingers rose. Other headlines shifted, but those who truly know football understood, Harvey Barnes wasn't finished. He was simply reloading, and when he finally returned, the fire was brighter. The answer arrived in the form of a phone call from Newcastle United, a club rising like a storm, a team being rebuilt with intention, hunger, and ambition. It was an escape, a rebirth, a chance to restart his story at the highest level. The moment he signed for Newcastle, his life shifted dramatically. The Northeast brought a new rhythm. Quieter streets, louder fans, deeper passion. Training sessions under Eddie Howe were ruthless but rewarding. The expectations were enormous, but Harvey adapted with the same mentality that shaped him as a kid. Listen first. Speak later. Let the football talk for him. His debut hinted at what he would become. Sharp, explosive, decisive. But storytelling is never linear, and neither was his first season at Newcastle. Another injury struck, this time crueler, because it came just as he was regaining momentum. And again, the whispers returned. Is he injury-prone? Is he unlucky? Will he ever have a full season without setbacks? But Harvey's life has never been about proving people wrong. It has always been about proving himself right. And that is exactly what he set out to do. The cameras didn't capture most of it. The lone gym sessions, the midnight ice baths, the moments where frustration spilled into silence. But those are the moments that turned Harvey Barnes from a talented winger into a hardened professional. Off the pitch, Harvey evolved to his lifestyle grew. Not flashy, not loud, but refined. A modern footballer with a taste for quality rather than chaos. His partner Donnie became a pillar during the toughest periods. Their young son brought calm into the storm. And for Harvey, who never craved the spotlight, that family unit became a sanctuary, the place where he could step away from criticism, injuries, pressure, and rebuild in peace. He represented the kind of player Newcastle admire: resilient, hardworking, emotionally disciplined, and driven by a fire that doesn't need noise to be real. But deep inside, Harvey feels the truth. He is still chasing the version of himself he once glimpsed during his explosive rise at Leicester. He believes that version still exists, and the next chapter of his life, both in football and beyond, will determine whether he rises higher than ever before or remains forever on the edge of something great. And for a brief moment, it looked like destiny was aligning. He looked sharp, confident, liberated. The injury that arrived in late 2023 wasn't dramatic. No collision, no chaos, just a sharp moment, a feeling all too familiar, a reminder that the body can betray even the strongest mind. A challenge to the identity he had built for himself. But with every setback came growth. This time around, Harvey approached the process with a maturity forged through years of surviving the violent emotional cycles of football. He leaned on his partner more, trusted his medical team, listened to his body like never before. He wasn't rushing, he wasn't panicking. He was rebuilding slowly, intelligently, with purpose. Newcastle, to their credit, never abandoned him. Eddie Howe made it clear. Harvey was part of the project, not a temporary spark. The club's trust became a lifeline. Every check-in call, every reassuring conversation, every moment where the staff reminded him he'd be back, it mattered. It made him feel valued in a sport where value can evaporate after a single injury. The explosiveness began to come back. The confidence too. He remembered what it felt like to dominate fullbacks, to glide past defenders with effortless acceleration, to cut in from the left. And Harvey knew that returning to the pitch after injury means facing a different kind of opponent. Doubt, it creeps in quietly, whispering questions your mind doesn't want to hear. What if UVA lost a step? What if the explosiveness doesn't come back? What if the league has moved on? But even beyond the pitch, Harvey's evolution became more visible. His net worth grew, his earnings increased, but the man behind the wealth remained the same: humble, private, hungry. This wasn't Leicester's fairy tale underdogs anymore. This was a club aiming for European glory, investing heavily, moving strategically. and demanding performances worthy of their ambition. And Harvey fit the blueprint: high work ethic, technically sharp, emotionally stable. Still, the pressure was different here. At Leicester, Harvey was homegrown, a product of the system. At Newcastle, he was an investment, a signing with expectations, a player fans demanded consistency from goals, assists, explosiveness. He needed to find the version of himself he once glimpsed, the one who terrorized Premier League defenses with frightening consistency. And so he pushed harder: extra finishing drills, accelerated sprint training, long video sessions, studying footwork and timing. Because as Harvey steps deeper into his prime years, the noise around him grows louder. Newcastle's expectations rise. Fans crave consistency. Critics look for weaknesses. But Harvey's journey has taught him something that can be coached. Pressure isn't the enemy. It's the fuel. Footballers often say, the Premier League exposes you. But what they rarely admit is that it also defines you. And Harvey Barnes, for all the quietness that defines his persona, is built for the unseen battles. He thrives in the subtle moments, the ones that don't make headlines but win matches. The perfectly timed run behind a fullback, the delayed pass that splits a defense, the low, controlled finish into the far corner. These things don't always go viral, but they are the building blocks of elite performance. Newcastle sees him that way. Eddie Howe sees him that way. But the world hasn't fully caught up yet. And maybe that's exactly how Harvey likes it. Hidden in plain sight, quietly preparing the season that will force everyone to look again. What makes his next chapter compelling isn't just his football ability, it's the emotional engine behind it. Harvey plays like a man who has felt both sides of the game, the exhilaration of breaking into the Premier League and the despair of being stuck in recovery rooms while the world moves on. Every time he steps onto the pitch now, he plays with gratitude disguised as aggression, because he knows what it feels like to lose the game, even if only temporarily. His internal mindset has shifted dramatically since those early years at Leicester. Back then, he was playing to prove he belonged. Now, he's playing to leave a legacy. He wants his son to grow up knowing his father didn't just make it, he maintained it. He wants Newcastle fans to remember him not just as a signing, but as a cornerstone of the club's modern era. And above all, he wants to finally unlock the version of himself he has been chasing since his breakout season. That version has always been defined by courage. The courage to run at defenders with conviction, to shoot without hesitation, to trust instincts honed through years of discipline. And courage is exactly what Newcastle demands in this phase of their evolution. As the club pushes for European qualification, domestic cup runs, and long-term dominance, every attacking player must carry the responsibility of impact. The club's new training complex, the tactical expectations, the squad depth, it all means one thing: the room for average performances is shrinking. Only those willing to push their limits will survive. Harvey knows this, and rather than shrink under the weight, he has embraced it. That's why he spends additional sessions perfecting his cut-ins from the wing, refining his finishing angles, strengthening the explosiveness in his first steps. He is crafting a version of himself that isn't just fast, but efficient, intelligent, lethal. But Harvey's life isn't just about football. His world off the pitch is the foundation that keeps him steady, while everything else moves at breakneck speed. His home in the Northeast has become his sanctuary, elegant, modern, and intentionally private. Inside, it's filled not with material excess, but with warmth. Photos of match days, quiet moments with his son, little reminders of how far he has come from those youth academy evenings in Leicester. Family dinners, steady routines, evenings spent unwinding with people he trusts. All of it grounds him. It keeps him from drifting into the chaos that fame tries to create. Most footballers say football is their life. Harvey doesn't need to say it. He lives it quietly, consistently, respectfully. But he also knows who he is without the game: a partner, a father, a grounded young man who values peace over attention. His income has grown significantly since the Newcastle moved Premier League salaries, bonuses, brand partnerships, incentives. His net worth has risen into the millions. But he hasn't changed. He hasn't been swallowed by extravagance. He enjoys the lifestyle, the comfort, the security, but he never lets it define him. In many ways, his silent humbleness is his superpower. And as Newcastle continues to strengthen their squad, new signings arriving, competition intensifying, Harvey feels something familiar stirring inside him. It's not fear. It's not anxiety. It's hunger. The hunger that drove him during his loans. The hunger that brought him back from injury. The hunger that made him one of the most exciting wingers in England before the world shifted its gaze elsewhere. Harvey knows he is entering a point where football careers are either cemented or fade. These next seasons will define his legacy, and he wants them to be the ones that change everything. The seasons where he hits double digits consistently, where he becomes a club hero, where he writes moments that last forever in Newcastle's history. The thing about Harvey Barnes is that his story has always been misunderstood. People mistake silence for softness. But silence can also be strategy. It can be focus. It can be fire waiting for its moment. And Harvey's moment, the one that ties every chapter together, feels closer than ever. His story isn't a fairy tale. It's a resilient story. A story of quiet persistence and aggressive ambition. A story of setbacks turned into fuel and potential turned into purpose. A story unfinished, still unfolding with every match, every sprint, every decision. As the camera pulls back on his life, what remains is a winger fighting for relevance. A man rising into the prime of his power, ready to redefine who he is and what he means to the club that believed in him. His best football isn't behind him. It's waiting, just ahead, in the space only the fearless run into.